Hello, I'm Marteen Santerre from Soul Being, and today I'm here with Kate Bathras from Kate Bathras Coaching. Kate is a life coach with a focus on helping busy women overcome burnout and exhaustion. Kate, welcome.
Thank you, Marteen. I'm glad to be here.
So, Kate, tell us, what is your background and how did you get into coaching?
I have a background in a few different things. Actually, I've worked in higher education and education in general.
Yeah.
I've worked for nonprofits. I've run my own business. And what I've realized over the years is that I've actually been coaching unofficially in each of those roles and throughout my personal life over the years for as long as I can remember.
And so how did you get into coaching?
Yeah, so it came to a point, life is funny this way, when you have sort of a calling, if you will, or there's something that, is really meant to be part of your life. You start to get little hints here and there and everywhere.
Yeah.
And what happened for me is those little messages became too hard to ignore, and I got to a point where I realized, I think I better make this official and become a coach, and so I did.
Great. And so how did you make that transition? What type of training have you taken to be a life coach?
Sure. So I've trained with the Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching, IPEC it's called, and they are affiliated with the ICF, the International Coach Federation. And that means that not only do I adhere to a certain code of ethics and standards within the coaching field, but I was also trained in a particular kind of coaching called energy core coaching, which means that I am trained to not just coach a client around the story or the problem or the goal that they're bringing to me, but I'm also trained to really listen for what's underneath that story, what the energy is behind what the client's going through, and coach them in a really holistic sense.
Fantastic. Help them get to the root cause of whatever their issue is.
Absolutely.
So what is your specific approach and methodology towards coaching?
Yeah, so as a coach, largely what I do is hold space for people.
Sure.
And I ask a lot of questions. A common myth about life coaches is that they give advice, that I would tell people how to live their life. And that's actually not true at all. My methodology, a fundamental principle of the way that I work is that the client is really the expert. The client is an expert in their own life, an expert in their own body, an expert in their own needs. And as the coach, I am facilitating a process through which they are really looking inward, answering the questions that I'm asking them during a session, and helping them to excavate what's in their way, what's been blocking them from whatever it is they're trying to achieve or experience. And then we move forward from there. And so it's really about building the client's confidence as an expert and as a decision maker in the client's own life.
That's wonderful. So tell me why you chose to focus on women in your practice. Because that's kind of one of the things that sets you apart.
Sure, absolutely. And that is my niche quite simply because I am a woman, so I'm really most familiar with women's health and what it means to be a woman in our culture and be a caregiver in many different roles and aspects of my life. I identify as a woman, so for me that puts me in a position to really help women navigate the issue of what might be causing burnout and exhaustion in their lives. That being said, I would happily work with a man. I would happily work with anyone who doesn't identify as either a man or a woman. Really, at the end of the day, what it comes down to is, do I resonate with this client? Does my approach resonate with the client? And are my services a good fit for that client?
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me, what is the most common theme that you see in working with women that are feeling this type of energy drain? Is there any sort of consistent thing to that?
There are many. Actually, there are the obvious ones, like we don't get enough sleep, or we have busy schedules, busy lives, multiple roles that we're juggling. And then there are some that are not so obvious. A lot of women who come to me are feeling, are actually dealing with grief on some level, or emotional, repressed emotions, or they're juggling some hard emotions that they don't know what to do with them. There are, relationship issues, different dynamics that sometimes we're dealing with that can drain us. Sometimes there is a physiological reason. Sometimes there's something really concrete and tangible. Sometimes it's a lot more nuanced, or it's a combination of factors. I just have a lot of women say to me, I've been an overachiever. We kind of developed this currency of doing, where we're doing all the time to sort of earn our keep in a way, and that burns us out. And then we experience sort of a paralysis around, well, what do I do next? Because I don't want to be burnt out again.
Exactly.
So
help myself.
So a lot of folks are feeling like they're recovering from burnout, and they're scared to move forward with anything that might put them back in that place.
So then tell me about your own toolkit to regain a sense of balance when your energy levels start to drop. Can you share a couple of tips with us?
Absolutely. So I am in the midst of, and I say in the midst of because it's a lifelong practice, of always reminding myself, practicing how to tune in, look inward. So when I'm feeling stressed, when I'm feeling overwhelmed, and my tendency is to kind of blame it on something else, something outside of me.
We've all done that once or twice. Maybe this morning.
We all do. It's part of being human, for sure. It's a practice of going inward, of pausing, of thinking, okay, what's really going on here? What is it that I need to express or articulate or do for myself that will actually help me meet my needs and reestablish a grounded sense of being in this moment? And so some tangible things that I do are check in about, have I nourished myself properly today? Food, water.
The basics that we all forget when we're running around with a bunch of things to do.
What do I have in my head that is still lingering there that's not serving me in this moment? So do I need to clear my mind? One of the quickest ways for me to get grounded is actually to spend some time in nature. Go for a walk, take some deep breaths of fresh air, feel my feet on the sand at the beach. Feel the sun on my face. I also really love to practice yoga nidra.
What is the yoga nidra? I'm not familiar with that.
Sure. So yoga nidra is not actually a type of yoga where you're moving around. It's actually a yogic sleep. So it's a guided meditation, and you can do it. You can take yoga nidra classes and workshops. You can also download recordings and listen to the guided meditation. And it puts you in a deep state of relaxation.
Oh, nice. So do you only do that before bed then, or can you do it multiple times during the day?
You can do it as much as you want and whenever you want, and that's the beautiful thing, is that a lot of people do use it to help get them transitioned into actual sleep at night. I like to practice after lunch in the afternoon.
Sure.
And the reason I like to do that is because it helps me transition and kind of wake anew for the second half of my day, which is often a point where I'm transitioning from the professional part of my life to the parenting part of my life. So if I can practice yoga nidra before I pick up my daughter at school, I'm actually showing up for her really present, really fresh. My mind is clear and my energy is high.
Fantastic. We'll have to check that out. So you talked a little bit about that transition. So can you just give us maybe some information on how women can best manage their busy schedules? I mean, is that transition part really what's the most key to that? Or do you have any other thoughts around that you can share with us?
Yeah, it's great that you picked up on that, because transitions are key, and I think we don't give them enough attention really in general. So when we think about transitions, you schedule an appointment, for example, and you have to factor in the amount of time it takes for you to get to that appointment. You have to, whether that's by car or you're walking or whatever. I feel like it's equally important to factor in the amount of time it takes for you to clear your head and your heart from whatever you've been doing previously. And that really allows us to have a complete transition that feels good. It allows us to arrive at the next task or meeting or really appointment that we need to do. So transitions are huge, and giving them space and attention and really checking in with ourselves about what we need, that's really important. Also, preparing for the day in such a way that you have the food and water and, whatever,
snacks in your handbag, whatever you need
for the day. Some people like essential oils. I like to keep a little peppermint oil. It helps me wake up a little bit. So carrying those things throughout the day. And then also, a lot of what I do with clients is help them distinguish between what's in their schedule because it needs to be there, what's in their schedule because they want it to be there, and what's in their schedule because they think it should be there. And as we think about busy schedules, it's not simply about what's on our calendar, but it's also about how we feel about the things that are there. Yeah, what do we have to do, and how do we trust ourselves to make good decisions and have good boundaries around our schedule so that our needs get met throughout the day.
Wonderful. So what areas do you specialize in with your coaching? Is there any particular thing you work with people on? And we talked about burnout and exhaustion.
Sure. So first, it's really important to actually clarify that coaching is not a medical modality, and that it doesn't take the place of other self-care or other, professional therapies, medicine, all of that. But what coaching can do is really support all of that and create a container for folks who are dealing with any number of conditions, really. So whether it's stress, fatigue, exhaustion, chronic pain. I've actually experienced chronic pain in my life many times. I find that my body is really one of the best barometers, if you will, of what's going on and what I need to do. Do I need to slow down? Do I need to nourish myself differently? Do I need more sleep? Do I need to just be more present? I feel that in my body first, and I think a lot of people do.
Yeah.
And so coaching can be a really nice modality that can support people as they're figuring out how to connect the dots of, gosh, I want to make a change in my life. I'm not feeling well. Maybe they're trying a bunch of other self-care. Sure. Maybe they've been to the doctor. They're getting their massage. They're doing their acupuncture. They're meditating, or maybe they're trying to establish some of these habits and they're struggling. And it's like, well, I think I know what I want to do, but how do I actually make it happen in my life? That's what coaching can really help with. So it's a wonderful support for connecting dots, creating a container, helping with accountability if that's what the client is looking for. And so it really can support any number of those situations.
Okay, great. So what can a client expect in a typical session with you? What is the cadence of that like?
First, what's important to mention is that coaching is never, or very rarely, done as a single session because it is such a deep, intensive process for the client that actually, if we were to do one session, we would probably get to, through a little bit of the excavating what's in the way, and
and then what?
And
now
then
what do I do? Now that I know I have a problem, I knew that's why I came to you. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So you need to talk to people more than once.
Talk to them more than once.
Get the best out of you.
So typically I actually work with folks at a minimum of 3 months. So 12 weekly sessions is the basic foundational coaching package with me. And before the client makes an investment in that process, because it is an investment of time and energy and resources, I do sit down with that client free of charge to establish, is this something that is a good fit?
Sure.
Does my style resonate with the client? Is there question or concern or goal or issue, something that I can actually support them with?
Yeah.
We don't want to, commit to spending 3 months together or longer, 6 or 9.
Yeah, if you're not really building rapport at the outset.
If it's not going to be a great use of their time or mine. And I really want to ensure that each client I work with is getting the most out of the services and really embracing the process. So that being said, a typical session looks different from client to client and from week to week, actually. But the gist of it is that each session begins with the client setting an agenda, and I help facilitate that process, but the client sets the agenda, and then we go from there. So the meat of the session really sometimes it looks like I'm really holding space while the client works through something really personal or that they've really been grappling with. And sometimes a session looks very action oriented, and I'm facilitating a process through which the client is setting a goal and coming up with action items, and really there's a lot of forward momentum.
Sure.
And so that varies, but then at the end of the session, regardless, the client is always taking something away from the session, and that might be something really tangible. Some clients really love worksheets, and they want their homework. They want their homework.
Yeah.
And And some clients actually might just leave with an intention to do some deeper work around whatever came up during the session. Because the beautiful thing about coaching is that what happens between the sessions is sometimes as or more important than what happens in the actual session itself. You know, the work doesn't just start and stop in that hour.
Session. Yeah, it's definitely a process.
Absolutely.
So just one last question for you. So what is your favorite thing about being a life coach?
Ooh, I love being a life coach because I have the honor with each client to witness a really beautiful and unique transformation taking place.
That's
and
awesome.
It's dynamic, like I said, it's different with each client, and my clients are really allowing me into their lives in a really personal way while they're working on a really profound process. And the fact that I get to witness that, facilitate that, and be a small part of their journey is really a privilege and a joy.
Wonderful. So to get in touch with Kate Bathras, you can visit us at soulbeing.com. Thanks for watching and have an amazing day.
Thank you.